Hey, what's going on, guys? Welcome to my channel, Hairliciously. If you guys are new to the channel, please make sure to hit that subscribe button so you guys are updated on hair loss and hair transplant topics, as well as updates on current hair loss treatments in the pipelines. Visit my website at HAIRLICIOUSLY.com to purchase your microneedling device, which is scientifically proven to stimulate hair growth, my low-level laser therapy cap, the HD shampoo and serum, hair growth vitamins, and a few other products to help those who are losing hair. So I covered Justin Bieber's hair loss video almost 4 years ago, and I felt that it was due for an update since I actually just randomly came across his Instagram page, and after seeing some of the more recent photos that he's been posting up, I couldn't help but just notice how much hair loss that this guy has been suffering from over the past couple years. I'm not a Bieber fan or anything like that, but I will have to admit that I do listen to some of his music on the radio, you know, like whenever it comes on from time to time. And the other thing is that his hair loss has also been such a hot topic of discussion. So I felt that it would be a good time just to do another update on his current hair loss situation. As a reference, here is a photo of him in 2015. Justin was 21 years of age, and we can see a pretty juvenile hairline with, you know, no signs of recession. And then 2 years later at age 23, we can start to see some pretty drastic aging. You know, the wrinkles, the crow's feet, which are pretty visible. Now, I honestly don't know if his aging has been accelerated due to his drug usage, which is very possible, as he's known to previously be addicted to substance abuse, and his hair also doesn't look like it's in the best condition. I will also add that he did state that he was suffering from Lyme disease previously, which is also known to cause hair loss, but I don't think Lyme disease was the actual cause of his hair loss, because Lyme disease is typically associated more with telogen effluvium and diffuse staining, and what Justin Bieber appears to have, as you guys will see later on in this video, is that his hair loss looks to be more genetic in nature. Anyway, this is him in 2018 at age 24. We can see obvious signs of hairline recession and even some temporal point recession that is widening his forehead. So here's Justin Bieber's Instagram page, and we're just going to look for some photos and see how his hair has been progressing. Here's a recent photo of him. We can kind of see that recession going on. Let me zoom in a little bit so that you guys can better visualize the extent of his hair loss. We can clearly see that temporal recession. He looks like maybe like a Norwood 2 in this case. So he does, or he is suffering from hair loss at this point, and that's just been confirmed with these photos here. Here's another good frontal shot of his hairline. It's a little bit more difficult to see here just because he's kind of like looking straight on without tilting his head or anything. Here's another good one. The temporal recession that we can see, it's kind of going in right there. And it also kind of looks like he does have the temporal point recession as well, just because his forehead looks a lot more wider than how it used to look. Here's a back shot of his head. Obviously there's no strip surgery, or it doesn't look like he's had any FUT scars or anything like that. And that's because I don't think he's had any procedures up to date, because he is still losing hair. But that might change later down the road, especially given his hair loss condition. Here's another frontal shot, some slight temporal recession. It's a little bit hard to tell just because of his light hair complexure. And then here's a photo of him with the president of France. Now, if you see here, you can clearly see a Norwood 2, maybe even a Norwood 3 type of pattern. Here is the president's hair loss as well. We can kind of see that same, maybe like a Norwood 3. And if you look at the Norwood chart, he looks like he's between maybe a Norwood 2 and a Norwood 3. Same thing with the president. It looks like he does have slightly more steeper temporal recession going on. It might also make it look like he is receding more just because of the fact that his hair is a lot longer compared to Justin Bieber's. But it's pretty easy to tell that he is suffering from hair loss at this point. And let's go ahead and scroll down, see a little bit more photos here. Here's another good one that shows his temporal recession right there going on. I apologize. I don't know why my computer is just so slow from time to time. But zooming up, he's at some type of concert, and he's probably under a pretty harsh light, and we can see a lot of the miniaturized hairs on his temple region, and also it kind of looks like the temporal points have been receding as well. So we can clearly see he is suffering from hair loss, and you know, if he's not taking any medications or anything like that, there is a good possibility that he will continue to recede and lose more hair later down the road. Let's see here. Here's a photo of his dad. I think Jeremy Bieber was maybe around 20 years old, maybe 18 when he had Justin Bieber. And Justin looks like he's maybe around 5 years, 5 or 6 in this photo, which would place his dad maybe around 24, 25, 26, which is the same age that Justin Bieber is right now. So we can also even see some of the hairline recession that his dad was experiencing in his mid-20s. So we can see the temporal recession is going on here. Same thing here, and obviously his hairline is kind of not straight. So if Justin does fall under his dad's footsteps when it comes to losing hair, it's not looking good, because I was actually able to pull up some photos of his dad. And this was back in 2018, February 2018, and you can see that his dad is fully bald, probably around the Norwood 6 type of hair loss pattern. And if you guys actually look at some of his photos, you'll see that he does wear his hat a lot, which, you know, it's usually indicative of somebody who is losing hair and wants to kind of disguise it. Here's another photo of Justin Bieber in kind of like dreads. And if we zoom in, we can still see that, that temporal recession. I wouldn't recommend anybody to, you know, do this type of hairstyle, dreadlocks, long term, because as we know, this is more commonly seen in the African American community with traction alopecia, where the hairs are being pulled, and that can also lead to hair loss. Here's another good illustration of a hair loss pattern that almost looks like he's a Norwood 3. You guys can kind of see that extent of the hair loss temporal recession going on, you know, like closer to his ears. And I think he is probably going to be between like a Norwood 2.5, maybe Norwood 3. And if he doesn't take, you know, like I said, any type of medication, he is going to continue to lose hair loss. Another photo of him in dreadlocks, you know, some temporal recession. It's a little bit difficult to see in this photo here, just because of the nature of the dreadlocks, which if you get dreadlocks, you're obviously going to expose your scalp. So it's kind of hard to tell, but we can kind of see that there is some type of recession going on there. And let's just go ahead and take a look at some of the other photos. I'm not really a big fan of his hairstyle. I don't know why he does his hairstyle like this. It just looks so messy. And we can also still see that temporal recession there. It kind of gives him that homeless vibe. And it doesn't really help, especially if your hair is not in the optimal condition. Like somebody to rock this would want to have decent amount of hair. Here's another good shot of his hair loss recession on the temples. We can clearly see that right there. And let me see, let me just look for just one more photo. Here's another good one. So he's kind of tilting his head, and we can see that deep temporal recession right there going on, that V or M shape. And I think he's clearly a Norwood 3 in this case here. So it's clearly evident that Justin Bieber indeed is balding, and he's been doing so since the past few years. He hasn't really mentioned anything about taking hair loss medications or any type of treatments. But if you guys do recall back in 2012 when Justin Bieber, I think he was doing some type of interview, and the conversation about Prince William's hair loss came up. And mind you that Justin was only 18 back then. And he basically took a cheap shot at Prince William and said verbatim, I mean that there are things to prevent that nowadays, like Propecia. He's talking about hair loss. I don't know why he doesn't get on those things, those products. You just take Propecia and your hair grows back. Have you not got it over here? So for an 18-year-old kid to actually know about Propecia, this to me sounds like he himself was starting to lose hair, or he was probably showing signs of hair loss in his late teenage years, because if you're not losing hair, there's no reason for any guy to know about Propecia. Justin Bieber is obviously aware of Propecia, finasteride, and I'm sure that he is also well aware of dutasteride, Avodart at this point, which is a more potent 5-alpha reductase inhibitor that blocks the conversion of testosterone to DHT. And assuming that he was taking Propecia, we can see that it obviously didn't stop his hair loss. And we also have to realize that when you are taking finasteride, it will slow down hair loss in most men, but unfortunately unfortunately, it's not going to halt hair loss in its tracks completely. And the reason for this is that there are still going to be remnants of DHT that are still circulating in the body. And from multiple studies, we know that taking finasteride and even more so with dutasteride is going to raise testosterone levels, which is also androgenic in nature, and therefore it can still contribute to hair loss, although at a far lesser extent compared to DHT. Now, I also point out that Justin Bieber's hair loss isn't severe by any means, and maybe he was able to slow it down from further progression of hair loss with a 5-alpha reductase inhibitor like finasteride. And he obviously, he has the money to get the world's best hair transplant to bring back his juvenile hairline if he wanted to. And it seems like at this point, he does have good donor area. And so there is a good possibility that he will continue to recede, given that his dad is nearly bald. And for somebody who is a celebrity figure, it's hard for me to believe that he will continue to go down the balding route. And especially not after he's talked crap about Prince William and his hair loss. And we'll eventually have to resort to, I think, a hair transplant if it gets to that point. And until then, we just have to keep an eye on his hair loss, and maybe later down the road, in a few years, he'll surprise us by resorting to a hair transplant and bringing back his juvenile hairline. But that's all I have for today's video, guys. Let me know your thoughts on Justin Bieber's hair loss situation, and whether if you guys think that he's taking any hair loss medications like finasteride or dutasteride. Also, if you have any other celebrities you guys want me to analyze for hair loss, leave me some comments below. Thanks for watching, guys, and I will talk to you guys in my next video. Take care.